Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Eli, the Adam Meakin, Chocolate Saiyan, Neil, Brian's Logic, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yo, good morning.
What's up?
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey. Good day yesterday for me. I was down south looking at the Isle of Wight thinking, on a clear day, I'm pretty sure from Dorset Beach you could get a really good black swan image from here. Shame it poured down with rain after an hour or so of beautiful sunshine on the beach with my kids. My youngest having never experienced the beauty of having the sea roll between her toes as the sand got between them. So it was a lovely day for me yesterday. Happy, happy days. So I'm in a very good mood. Should we do a bit of housekeeping?
Yep.
Far away.
Any evidence of a physical, geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
Well, did you get any in by the coast? Surely you were a prime spot to spot it. Geometric edge.
I certainly saw a horizon. Wasn't a geometric sphere edge.
You mean
only
like
existed in the maths?
Did
Hey,
you
Owen?
have the address for that horizon?
No, it had no address.
Hello.
Oh, there wasn't a physical limitation that you can think that maybe a boat can go behind? No, none of that.
No, that only exists in the maths.
But maths are abstract, though.
Yeah,
That's weird.
They'll describe it as being a physical reality. For instance, if you've got a lighthouse claimed to be blocked by an Earth curve bulge when viewing the Isle of Man at about 35 miles, you know, you can have the fundies assert that their reification of a model and its maths that asserts that things are getting blocked by Earth curve actually is the representation you've got in an image of a lighthouse, for example. Are we not supposed to mention that lighthouse?
Right. Yeah, but
The horror lighthouse. That one.
I haven't reflected the lighthouse, only the light. Yeah, that one.
This is supposed to be derived from a measurement of some kind, somewhere, somehow. But there is none.
That's correct. Only exists
Somewhere
in the
over
maths.
the rainbow.
Somewhere over the... No, not even somewhere over the rainbow. It only exists in the maths.
well,
No.
to be
So
fair,
it's
though,
kind of like over the rainbow then.
No. Rainbows
No.
are real, although I can't get to them. At least there is some visual manifestation of a rainbow. However, a geometric Earth curve edge can only and does only exist in the maths.
ballers can pretty much point at anywhere on the flat plane and just tell you that's exactly where it's supposed to be obstructing things into the distance, but because of terrestrial refraction, that's where that point is. Right?
But how is it obstructing anything if it's locally flat?
Right, indeed.
Well, according to Ranty, it's at the back of Blackpool. I don't know.
Oh, it's in the back.
Yeah, it's at the back there with Blackpool. You can't see it with Blackpool.
Oh, it's way back there. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's locally flat now before you go there. At the back of Blackpool, that's where you get all the air curve.
Okay, just for the audience's benefit, we're being told by our opponents now, regardless of their recent transition from flat to globe, that the area we observe is locally flat, in complete contrast to the actual globe Earth claim that there is 8 inches per mile squared drop from every vantage point. So, locally flat, well, no, measurably flat. Go and check out the elevation profiles in Google Earth which demonstrate it as flat, measurably. Well, that doesn't translate into anything locally flat. It's just flat. However, there's a claim that there's 8 inches per mile squared drop. So that's a bit of a problem if you believe in that nonsense with the geometric sphere edge to claim it, because we've debunked it with the black swan.
Well,
Nobody claimed that the Earth curve would block things into the distance.
Yeah, they would though, because we've got hours and hours and hours of footage of people like Ruhif, just as one example, drawing tangents to Earth curve edge horizons and asserting that what we see in pictures of the Isle of Man is actually a representation of a sphere edge bulge getting in the way. So they definitely do draw tangents to it and claim that it's blocking things. It's the very basis of their religious belief in a sphere Earth, Arwin.
No, but they oversimplified it because they knew you wouldn't understand, Nathan.
I see. They oversimplified a tangent. It's just a straight line. And always will be. Regardless of your lies about having always refracted everything, it'll always be a tangent straight line. That's what a tangent is by definition.
Well,
But didn't Rumpus clear that up for us and he say tangent line? Oh, straight line? We don't need that. That's irrelevant.
Well, he cleared up that he hasn't got one. And also, it was made clear recently in a video by me that he absolutely used to claim straight lines between things when they should have been refracted. And in fact, he's now having to lie and claim he did refract everything, except when he was drawing straight lines and not refracting a damn thing and claiming Earth curve was the end of that straight line that would be required to do the geometry to make the assertion in the first place. Of course, that's gone with the black swan and it's coming home to roost, thanks to cats.
So are you saying we never get a straight line out of Rumpus?
They say we have no straight lines. He also told us it's irrelevant, even though it's an absolute necessity for globe Earth assertions with geometry and their tangents.
Yeah, but visually there are no straight lines.
That's a bummer if you're going to need tangent point to make an Earth curve claim now, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily. They can still calculate how much the Earth is curved in other ways.
Oh, what? Calculate how much it's curved in the maths? Well, that's nothing to do with my reality, Alwyn, so who cares?
Well, they just detract it from the equator line, right?
What's the
Then
equator,
they just figure
Alwyn?
out this is the radius.
Hold
That's
on.
what the geometric
Hold on.
radius must
Too many
be.
steps at once. What's the equator?
That's where the sun is at its highest point on average in relation to the ball Earth underneath.
Oh, I see. A presupposition of a ball Earth underneath and celestial movements. What the hell does that have to do with the ground and its shape and its size? No. We're not having any of this nonsense. Celestial movements and their averages. No.
Eli.
Eli, you're causing audio chaos.
My bad.
Isn't
Sorry,
there any other
sorry.
way that they found an R value?
Oh, really? Enlighten us.
Oh, I'm just curious. I think I've heard them say that they've calculated the R value via other methods.
Calculated? No.
Yes.
No. Don't give Arwin the stick he needs. No. Measured. Yeah? Measured. Not calculated. See how this boat on screen is claimed to be, according to this depiction, blocked from the bottom up by way of a Muppet Vision orthographic view where you see the side of your own head. So you take this representation of the world that shows you the side of your own head and you compare that to photos and you end up with a point that blocks the bottom of the boat, according to their geometry. Now that only exists in the maths, not in reality because you never see the side of your own head. So calculating an R value doesn't mean they've measured an R value because we don't have one based on a tangent point Earth curve edge to give them the R value, and that's their horizon. As much as they're now telling us, no, when we did our geometry and drew tangents to an Earth curve we claimed to prove as the bulge getting in the way of the Isle of Man, we actually refracted everything. We didn't say it, but we expected you to be telepathic, or We expected you to just be a bit dumb and need it dumbing down to the point where a tangent that cannot be bent was actually going to be bent in the future when it can't be. So it's your fault, really, flat earthers, for not understanding that tangents actually bend, when in reality they don't. Or not understanding that when you're looking at the side of your own head, that's how the world presents itself, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, but you can't actually use optics to measure anything on Earth because of terrestrial refraction.
Terrestrial refraction is based on an R value that's derived from a physical geometric sphere-edge tangent point to give them the R value in the first instance. So to refract something with an R value, i.e. terrestrial refraction, is an oxymoron paradox because you can't get R to refract the R value origin. It's called the Arwinian paradox.
That's only if you try to measure it through optics, but as I said, you can still calculate it based on the celestial coordination here.
Okay, circle jerk number 2. Yeah. Circle jerk second time around. Same thing. Calculating something isn't measuring something. Optics would be to measure its physical existence. Measuring it in the maths is meaningless abstract nonsense because we don't have a physical horizon called Earth curve anymore. So don't tell me a third time, I know your game, Arwin, that it's going to be calculable.
It's not my game.
Their game.
You just keep saying calculate instead of measure. That's your problem.
Yes, but you can only only determine R through triangulation based on the celestial heavens. And finally, the ballers are starting to realize that terrestrial refraction undoes the capability of using visuals to establish R, right? The old Al-Biruni story, but they still can calculate it based on triangulation and celestial orientation.
Excuse me. Triangulation needs a baseline straight. Sorry, Arwin.
Also, their presuppositional distances, irrespective of their requirement to start on a straight line, correct 10th. That's the overall point. But they've got presuppositions of R in the first instance when they look at the celestial bodies. When you derive your equator value, you've already got the presupposition of the spherical Earth in play, with its radius value, with all those distances set already.
But all you have to do is just follow the sun in its highest spot on average, and then figure out how long that entire distance is.
So if the sun
then you have your circumference, and you can calculate the diameter and the radius from that.
Beautiful magic trick. Beautiful magic
so
trick.
the sun at its highest spot, 3,000 miles away, and you're on a ship, and you get your circle of equal altitude, you need a straight line for 3,000 miles, Arwen. What happened to the curve for the Earth?
Can't be done.
So you all have it wrong. All of you. Right?
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
There's no need for any of that stuff now, because now it's locally flat, so they can just use normal geometry and make up their curve out of that.
That's true.
No, but that doesn't actually work out with spherical geometry, though. So optics are just off the table for establishing R. It's not going to work.
That's not what Brian said. He's not trying to establish R. That's not what Brian said. Repeat what you said, Brian, to Arwin, and just listen to what he actually just said. Can you repeat yourself, please, Brian? Because he's not trying to establish R.
Yes, Nathan. They don't have. That's not a problem anymore, because now it's all locally flat, so they can use normal geometry and make up their curve out of that.
It's serious. That's just techno-babble bullshit that Ranty made up. It's a very poor machination.
Well, it is if you're a glober, but in terms of our argument, we're saying it's flat, he's saying it's flat, in contrast to the claim of an 8 inches per mile squared drop from every vantage point, which is the sphere Earth claim. So he's saying it's flat, and Brian's saying, well, if it's flat, locally, you just use normal geometry. It's no worries. You don't have to worry about bending it or presupposing a tangent plane after deriving a zenith. You don't have to do any of that. It's locally flat, right? Well, you just don't have to worry about anything then. Why concern yourself with a curve? No need, because there isn't one.
Right. So you can't actually use visuals because of that to establish a radius value for the sphere. That's supposed to be there, right? You can't use it. So that only confirms what I said.
The sphere only exists in the maths that you're going to figure out, to quote you, the radius or circumference in this instance. Well, figuring it out for, quote, the sphere. Which sphere? What sphere? Oh, the sphere that only exists in the abstract mathematics where you assume physical tangent points.
Well, what else could the equator line be?
The average that you described when measuring the celestial movements of the sun. That's what it is. What else could it be? Was precisely what it is, just minus the presupposition. Who's
But
making
it's a
that racket?
circle around the Earth, right? Are you claiming
10th.
the Earth is a flat disk?
I'm not claiming anything other than an aspect of it is flat if you ignore all topology. Well, that flat aspect is what is utilised, and 10th Man's just described that in the first instance. That's where this point begins and ends, with 10th Man's point about how we actually measure stuff. And the same applies for when we're measuring the surfaces. They do measure it flat. Now, the fact that they make a presupposition of a tangent plane is debunked if you debunk their tangent, which we have. So what you're left with is a plane.
I think what I'm saying here is the ballers need 20 miles flat and then 8 inches per mile start. That's what they need.
Just so y'all know, Ranty didn't make up this locally flat shit. I've heard this nonsensical argument like sometime last year on 24/7. Somebody else did that. Somebody else tried that nonsense, and it was kind of laughed at. Like we're laughing at it now. So yeah, that's not an original from Mr. Optics over there, guy.
Well, they've always been saying that it's locally flat. If you go back 5,
You remember, right, Eli? Who is that dude? Somebody used to come in with that locally flat. Right.
5, 7, 10 years back on YouTube, and this is how they describe it. As far as you can see, that's what they say.
Yeah, but Ranty gave her a number, 21 miles.
But it's kind of silly to say it though, because if you're going to go with that, then there's the only way to actually make some kind of sense with it is that there is a quantum situation happening where the observation actually makes it flat, because it's
Or it's just flat. We don't have to make excuses.
Guys, you let Alvin
it's much
finish.
simpler than that.
Hello.
Go on,
Let
Nathan.
Alvin make his point.
right. Yeah, look, either it is curved or you observe it and the observation causes a quantum curved function to collapse and make it locally flat to the observer, right? So it is literally flat because you observe it. But yeah, it still has to be a sphere. So
Well,
yeah.
my quantum makes curve look flat. How about that?
No, it's much more simplistic. But go ahead, Brian, first.
Thank you, Nathan. No, it's really simple now. You see, let's just say outer black pool is flat, but see, what it is now is the curve is always going to be behind something, you see, right? So it's always behind something there. So, and it's going to be easy for them to prove it because they can do trigonometry now that it's locally flat. They can use the flat plane to do trigonometry and prove that the thing that we can't see is because it's behind something, but it's also gone over the curve that's behind this thing. But when you get there, that will also be locally flat, and the curve will be somewhere else. So it's always over there.
Okay, let's just make it clear. The globe rhetoric is 8 inches per mile squared. That's what is claimed. Now that is what is also measurable in their earth curve maths and formally claimed with straight line tangents to be the cause of obstruction at the horizon. That's what they claimed. Earth curve got in the way. Now, because we've debunked their assertion of a tangent point horizon called Earth curve to get in the way, they've taken part of the mathematics and asserted, let's ignore the 8 inches per mile squared maths that the entire maths is based on and take out one section of it, drop, and assert in a picture where we haven't got the problem of a geometric horizon to have to defend, if we crop the image, and assert only the drop when transposing with heights in actual sizes taken from Google Earth and no measurements whatsoever with theodolites or sextants, and then transpose them into the drop value based on an angular size change that's then converted back to an actual size, and then assert that locally flat also to be used and burned as a flat Earth strawman. Now, what is this in reality? I said it was simple. That wasn't simple. That summary of what's happened at trench level when someone's converted back to globe from flat Earth, having made lots of assertions about how flat everything is locally. Yeah, it's the same as someone denying Coriolis effect. Well, we have this drift that we will observe at 15 degrees an hour. Oh, really? Show me the drift. We wouldn't expect to see any drift at 15 degrees an hour. That's how that argument goes. Now, in this case, we say, where's Earth curve? And they go, We've got 8 inches per mile squared drop from any vantage point. Here's our Earth curve mass to show you how everything's dropping away from you at 8 inches per mile squared, and you've got an Earth curve obstruction getting in the way, and here's the geometry. Obviously, we'll require a tangent that's straight, but here it is. And you go, okay, where's the Earth curve then? Here's a picture. We don't have Earth curve. We wouldn't expect to see it. It's locally flat. That's what's actually happening. When you demonstrate beyond all certitude that what they have claimed in the first instance, that's Earth curve at 8 inches per mile squared, simply isn't there to observe, they'll tell you it's locally flat and then extract a section from a mathematics that does assert Earth is spherical with 8 inches per mile squared, based on a radius value that's been debunked by the Black Swan and a tangent point horizon that's called Earth curve that they can no longer talk about because it's all been debunked. So this nonsense is merely a denial of their claim in the first instance. You claim Earth is a sphere with a horizon. That's what your Earth curve is. Well, not anymore. So you're going to go to some obscure mountains that are blocked by a piece of land in the foreground so you can deny that you can even see Earth curve after cropping the Earth curve on the left out of the image. It's pathetic.
Yeah, but it will never look curved. It would always look flat because there is atmosphere you're looking through, right? So only if there was a vacuum would the Earth actually look like a ball. And by the way, it's a miracle that that doesn't happen because it's supposed to be in outer space. So there should actually be a vacuum.
Correct. Notwithstanding the second law of thermodynamics violation, that would be a sky vacuum to suck all the air out of our atmosphere oxymoron. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere, it takes the shape of its containment. We still have the very severe problem of them now claiming we never have a straight line. As I pointed out earlier, Arwin, we have hundreds of hours of people debating with us, telling us how important the heights are. I seem to remember Gem Panda getting his pants all in a twist over Anthony's heights, and Rumpus getting in a twist over it. How easy it is to now juxtapose that with what's being claimed by Cats & Co. And how critically important it is to have the correct height now. Oh, the efforts we had to go to when it was us making the claim. I'm sure Gem Panda's still got his pants in a twist over this Google Earth height that they've used when claiming it's locally flat in defiance of the 8 inches per mile squared drop that the calculator asserts we should see. We just don't. Or we didn't until they cropped it out with their Texas sharpshooter fallacy. It's all disastrous. Thanks, Cats.
I have another lie to point out from Ranty, because they're claiming that they didn't crop the photo. They're claiming that they got that photo directly off of Twitter, and the photo was already cropped on Twitter. Yet, during my debate with Ranty, Ranty was able to show me, right, where the details of the photo was on the guy's website called Cookbook something. And I know this because I already knew about this website, because I went in and I got the photo off that website, the full photo. So they knew all about the full photo before they ever presented anything. That's a complete and utter lie. They knew about the full photo, but they used the one that wasn't the full photo. Right?
I see.
So that's a total lie.
I see.
Sorry?
A red herring would be that the version they got was from Twitter. However, what you're detailing is that when he gave you a source, it was from the website, which had the full image, which means he knew about it.
Yes, because they had information in the presentation that came off of the information in the presentation that's directly correlating to what's on the website. Like, that's where you get the full photo off. They knew about the full photograph. They may not have cropped it, but they used the one that was cropped, if you know what I mean. So we could claim they didn't crop it, but they used the one that was cropped.
It's called cherry picking.
The full photograph was there.
It's called cherry picking for a reason. I'll have this cherry and not that cherry. I'll have the one that's cropped. Like I said at the time, when someone asked me, well, who actually cropped it? I said, it doesn't matter who cropped it. That's irrelevant. It's been used, cropped, cherry picked. Yeah? That's what cherry picking means. Doesn't matter that one or other of them didn't actually drag the cut tool over the image. That's irrelevant. Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
That was the the way that was presented to me via Ruhif in Discord for us to eat humble pie as a ha 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 gotcha. it wasn't us that cropped it. We just used the crop picture. Look, it was the original artist as he just tried to just have Blackpool in the shot. That's what the artist did. They then weakly used that as if it validated them.
Right, you should eat humble pie.
Hiding that information still.
You should eat humble pie. This is Ruhif telling you to eat humble pie. The very same guy who's currently lying about having refracted geometric positions he formerly drew tangents to personally. Yeah. A liar, then.
I think the actual phrase was if I had any integrity, I would point that out.
Really? Ruhif, if you had 1 ounce of integrity, you wouldn't be lying about the tangents you had to draw when you did the geometry at the Isle of Man. Now, like Rumpus, you've been led by the Pied Piper to this place, where you now must lie. All refracted? No! A tangent is a straight line precisely as you drew to the Earth curve you claim got in the way of the Isle of Man, Ruhif. You're just now a liar.
Well, I just would like to point out something here, right? About this whole situation. I have not seen this Twitter account with this crop photo. I didn't see that. We're told that's the situation. Maybe true, but it may not be true. Maybe there wasn't a crop photo on Twitter. Maybe they did get a photo off of Twitter.
I've seen it.
What's the name of the account?
I've seen it.
It was cropped, Adam, was it already?
Yeah. The artist does it early January.
Okay.
I say, but that's not the point, is it? How much research did it? How long was it? 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we found it all the pictures, and looked at it all to evaluate it.
I put his name into. I remember on the day on this show 2 weeks ago, or whatever. I put his name into the thing. Kevin Jackson, Blackpool photo. It came up with links for his actual full photograph. It was right there. It was on his website. There and then we got that photograph within a couple of minutes. Me and you, Adam, both got it. I think around the exact same time. It took a minute.
Yeah, that's the point. So even if you were doing any proper research and you're going to present this as a proof of something, then it would be churlish, I think, to pretend that you never ever came across the full photograph. That you were completely unaware of it yourself, and that's the only image you had and worked with. That's the silliness, isn't it? Follows.
Well, that's a lie, because Rampy contradicted all that in our debate when he started pulling up the guy's website and saying all the information you need is right there. You know what I mean? That was all a part of that. All the information that they knew information that came, the information that was in their presentation, like they referenced what was on his website. On this website.
Okay.
Now there isn't a whole lot of information there, but there is information and a full photograph.
Right, but what they haven't done is gone and measured the angular sizes. They haven't taken a sextant or a theodolite out, and they haven't even ascertained the actual height of the observation yet. We've had, so far to date, 6 observation heights. Now, as I pointed out either in the pre-show or at the beginning of this live show, the opponents, when it was reversed at the Isle of Man, were very keen to tell us how critical it is to get the correct observer height. Now, obviously, those words are easily transposable directly onto this circumstance with cats and co. And Gem Panda? Yeah, you got very upset with us, didn't you, Gem? About getting the heights from Google Earth? Yeah, you had a good laugh at us for Anthony actually taking the imagery and then acquiring the height he was at where he took the picture from Google Earth. That apparently wasn't acceptable. But apparently, in defence, when it's a globe believer with their low standards, they can just pull an image from Twitter and what? Guess where it is and give the height from Google, having never been there at the time? That's acceptable on the globe side because your standards are so low. But obviously, the same people who are pointing out how, quote, critical the observation height is when you're making globe Earth claims with the, quote, globe theory. Yeah, you're going to need those heights to be accurate. I mean, we were set to task to actually measure them physically at the site. But what, because it's a tweet, you don't need to? Oh, how low standards have dropped, Ranty. It must be so much easier on the Globe side with those low standards now, eh? Yeah? I seem to think you were there measuring it with us, weren't you, Ranty? Yeah? Sticking your sticks in the ground and doing the trig at the actual location for how high the observation was? What? No comparison when it's the Globe side? No outrage from Gem Panda about getting the heights from Google? None of your own side pointing out that 6 heights and no affirmation of the actual height isn't acceptable? It's just little old me doing it. Oh, that's okay, because what I'll do is I'll just cut out you guys saying it and then put Katz's image over the top of it, with you saying these very words I'm now saying, but you don't seem to want to say when it's one of your own making these crappy claims from a picture on Twitter. Epic.
It's worse than that, because they don't actually. There's 2 problems, right? Well, the second one is going to sound a bit selfish, but I'll tell you the first one. They don't actually have an observer location. They don't have an actual place, like with GPS, of where the actual observer was. All they have is that Ruhif had something from the guy who says he was on a path that was parallel to a road. That's it. They don't have an actual place that the observer was at. And so they've claimed originally 6 meters because they just found a place on a path that was near a road and said 6 meters. I don't see anything from the actual guy giving anything that is an actual location with an actual camera height. And then after that, they've added, Ranty tried to add 6 meters onto that 6 meters and come up at 12 meters. And now Ruhif is trying to push for a 9.5 meter. And what he's hoping for is to get a 7.5 meter. Like, it's nonsense. They don't even have an actual observation point. And it means nothing, because I debunked the whole lot. It's completely and utterly debunked with my last video with Jay Tolan. It's totally debunked the whole lot.
You know what the real problem is? Let me make like 2 points. We're still talking about it. The second point is, instead of getting the plethora of black swans there are out there and just presenting them, knocking them over the head with them each and every day.
I think it's important to talk about it, because they spent a long time during the Oil of Man thing making a big deal out of every small little thing. And I remember Miles Davis giving Nathan and Anthony and Ranty at the time a hard time over getting their specifics right when it came to observer heights and, you know, measurements and all that. And then he was found out to be given a 41-foot high. He gave a 41-foot high estimation. He was caught. Remember that, Nathan?
Just add this, Brian, to that. Nathan, I'm sharing there now. That's the screenshot that Ruhif sent me, and I think the language itself tells you in this tweet, look, I made a slightly tighter cropped version. So this is the one. So it comes with a statement that this is not the full picture. There's more of it. Now, I've gone to his webpage, his Twitter page, and you can see I can't actually see that tweet, which is weird, around about the 26th. But if you look at it, everything else around it has got the full image. Everything else he's pimping around this time has got the full image. So to me, it has to be either the worst researchers ever or a conscious decision. Maybe not to have physically cropped that image themselves, but to have used the cropped image.
So who's Kevin Jackson? Ruhif?
So this is the guy that took the picture, yeah. And he's selling it and the likes.
I see. So this is the photographer, not Ruhif.
No, this is the actual original.
Gotcha. I see. So when they say they got the, we covered that. I think Brian covered that in fairly extensive detail. Ranty's a liar. I mean, Ruhif is also a liar, as I covered earlier. He drew tangents to Earth curve and claimed they were getting in the way of the Isle of Man. Shh! Don't mention the lighthouse.
Which one of these guys are going to go lay on the beach on their belly? Like Wiley had to do. Which one of those guys are going to do that?
Yeah, that's a point Riley was in the chat comments pointing out to me. So where I've juxtaposed the situation at the Isle of Man with this Cats & Co. image of the Blackpool Swan, as it's now become fondly known by us, you've got Anthony pointing out that whilst being heavily criticised for him simply stating where he took the picture from and putting a mark on Google and naming the height, which was absolutely and unequivocally unacceptable, right? He points out that Rumpus then lied about that and said, oh, Anthony gave ever-increasing heights, lying. When in fact, Anthony pointed out below, no, I went to the beach, got the same image from my belly on the beach. That's what I actually did. But of course they have to lie about what actually took place. They have to lie about what they did in their geometry with their tangents now, Ruhif being one of those liars. That's right, Ruhif, you are now being called a liar, given that I'm informed that you have now claimed everything's refracted like Rumpus did, making you a liar. Shout out to Michael Jones for the pie. Really appreciate the support.
I wonder how much higher you would have to get to see the mountains above Blackpool Tower.
Well, you wouldn't have to go up too far. If you had a drone, surely one of them has a drone. You go up with the drone, and you wouldn't have to go up too high, and you'd see that happen. You could even emulate it a little bit on Google Earth, but Google Earth make everything in the distance.
Didn't somebody have a GoFundMe for a drone or something like that?
Yeah, didn't I help Ranty get a drone?
My memory serves correct.
Didn't I dedicate a significant portion of my life to getting him money to buy a drone?
Would have been a useful thing for you,
I remember
wouldn't
that.
it?
I do.
Before changing your worldview.
I mean,
Just checked it with that drone.
I'm slightly bemused because after Let's Get It Clear for Bob Nodell, who seems to be asserting contrary to this particular statement, after Ranty severed ties with us, went away, set up his own show, very similar to this one, I might add. Height of compliment, I would take it as. Nevertheless, when he departed from us and started to slag us off, at that particular point, I've forgotten my point now. What was I babbling on about?
The drone.
The drone.
Droning on.
Exactly. He was being criticised for apparently claiming he'd bought a drone when apparently he hadn't. Now, I took very little interest beyond occasionally removing rude comments about this exact subject, but I didn't care because I thought, no, he's had a GoFundMe. I'm sure he has bought a drone, and didn't give it a second thought. But now we're in a position where, well, okay, is it actually the case that you can go out and get drone footage? Because that's precisely the purpose of this, regardless of which side. Same with Jose when he acquired Jaren's P900 through a GoFundMe. You know, Jaren was selling it. He raised a medium amount of money and purchased it, I believe. And it's like, okay, well, he's got a camera. He can go out and get stuff. It doesn't matter which side he's getting it for. You know, coincidentally, when Jose transitioned back to the Globe, another person who was on this show and then transitioned onto their own show and then transitioned back to the Globe. Very interesting that this pattern has happened twice. Nevertheless, when that happened, he took an image that had a very similar claim attached to it. There was a missing Earth curve that couldn't be seen because of occultation, and an assertion that there was a drop that was claimed in this lighthouse that was obscured at the Earth curve you couldn't see, but apparently dropped based on their maths. Now, Jose has recently been critical of Ranty, believe it or not, because of this very point, which is just so ironic. Maybe he doesn't realise his own transition story is being violated when he criticises Ranty for the same thing. But there we go, that's these people. They think everyone has amnesia around them while they lie to themselves.
I did watch a bit of Ranty's video, and I might have found out another reason why he's turned back to the ball. Sounds like he's not been drinking his mandatory pint of piss that all flat earthers have to drink every day.
No need. No need. Family
no.
show.
Well, this is an accusation thrown at us that part of the cult is that's what we all do. Watch the video.
Okay. I don't do that. Does anyone else on the panel do that? Nope. Is it relevant to flat Earth? No, not really.
I don't do any of that.
No. But
No.
okay.
Normal person.
Thank you, though, Adam.
I know about it, but no.
Thank you very much.
It's
Disgusting.
part of the chanting that we apparently do as well.
Let me change the subject. So I think Ranty lost his drone because of the Coriolis effect.
Oh, it whizzed away 1,000 miles an hour, or it
Yes.
seemed to, because he was turning
He
beneath
took it up too high, and then suddenly, he underestimated the deviation. So he lost radio signal, and it drifted off and probably crashed somewhere in Ireland.
I'd say crashed
How do
in
you
eBay.
underestimate an apparent deviation?
I don't know. He'll have to figure that out.
Well, maybe we'll
what
find
I-
out.
What I
Maybe
noticed.
we'll get some
Sorry,
devastating drone footage from Ranty. We'll see. Go on, Adam. Sorry.
That was me, I think, talking. I think Adam. Was it Adam?
No, I'm on mute.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just to add some context to what I said a while ago. It's not that I made the video. It's that what's in the video. Jay Tolan Media is at 3,200 feet. Right? He drops by 100 feet and he takes a time lapse of it. And you can see the smaller mountains in the foreground. They start occulting much larger the background. And you can see where it's like a hopping effect is happening to this big mountain, the highest mountain he's looking at, and that's at 68 miles away. It's bopping up and down behind these other mountains. And as well as that, he shows that this larger mountain that's at 68 miles away is when he's at 3,200 foot. He shows that this larger mountain that's at 68 miles away is way lower. It's nearly half the height of another mountain that's at 53 miles away, that's 400 feet lower than so the one at 53 miles away is 4,500 feet. The one at 68 miles away is 4,900 feet. And he's at 3,200 feet. And both of them are below his center frame. And the one in the distance at 68 miles is way below it. Now, that, right, he's seen, there is no, like, I use that in particular because the globe's geometry, what would be there in their geometric horizon, is past, even for 3,200, 100 feet, is past 68 miles. It's actually just slightly over 68 miles.
I watched it last night. I've pulled it up on screen. Do you know where it is in the vid? Those verses.
Where the...
I saw you post it last night, so I watched it. It is amazing. It's really worth it.
Yeah, I don't know the timestamps, Adam. No,
No.
I just pulled them out myself. I just took parts out of it, put in my own video. But yeah, it's a hyperlapse. He calls it a hyperlapse. It's not the one that I put up last night, Adam.
Ah, right. That's right.
No, it's not that one. It's a different one called a hyperlapse. But basically, like, he's using even bigger distances, right? Than the distances that Jay Tolan's using in the video I use. He's at a higher height and he's using bigger distances. And so there's no globe geometry possible, yet he shows the exact two effects that are shown in the Blackpool photograph. The exact effects. It looks exactly the same. The only difference is that he's at an elevation where they can't claim globe geometry. Yet he can show the same effects. There's no way out for them. I know Ruhif has seen the video. They won't address it. There's no addressing of it. The only thing that bothers are doing, they try to attack me on my demonstrations. Like, what's the point in attacking me on my demonstrations when I'm showing the actual real world version of those things straight after the demonstrations? After I explain them, I show the demonstrations, explain what's happening, then I show the real world version. And Jay Tolan speaks the same as me, basically. He hasn't really detailed it as well, but he's addressing it. You know what I mean? So they don't have anything. Like, that's completely debunked. I told Ruhif that the other night. Their claim is totally debunked. Now, they're obviously ignoring that because Ranty had a debate with Witsit on Saturday about it. Go on, Leila.
So you would agree that we've given them the time of day. There's no need to give them any more sunlight. I mean, with this right here, like, what's the point of getting an upstart Glober's numbers up by giving him attention when there are tons of other people with bigger channels that we could be chipping away at.
Well, a whole lot is debunked anyway now, Eli. There's no way out of it. There's
Eli,
no way
this
back.
is-
I could present my video at any time to any of them, and there's absolutely nothing.
I guess what I'm
They have nothing.
saying. I guess what I'm saying is this is fine. It's, of course, they look silly, but like I would prefer not to waste our time and resources, our energy, on talking to people that we would already say are just ignorant. No, I don't even know if ignorance is the word, right? Like, I mean, because we could be attempting to reach the people that actually want to know what's going on, but oftentimes there's some wayward Glober, so-called, that comes out of the woodwork, and then we waste our time on them as if they deserve it.
Well, that is my show. At the end of the day, I've got an open door to anybody to come in to challenge or present their claims in regard to the nature of Earth. Now, obviously, the majority of the Western world believe the Earth's a sphere, so that is going to be the majority of what we receive here at trench level in terms of arguments from people who have a contrary view to our own. Now, when I say our own, I'm talking about me and my panel. Now, we are flat earthers. So, yeah, there's going to be people who want to come in. Now, in terms of people like the Rumpus, who keeps joining, keep bouncing him, he keeps coming back, I'm not interested in talking to him. I've already chopped off his head and proven him as a liar. So I've got no time for those sorts of people anymore. They don't help in an educational process. But because people do come here for entertainment, I've got to have a justifiable reason to say I'm not going to partake any discussion with that person anymore. Now, I don't have the ability to ban them from the server. It's not my server. But I do have the ability to say, you're not going to take part in my live show. And it might be a case where he sneaks into the after show and automatically is off mute and gets a few words in. But he'll be immediately removed for being a liar. Now, while
Then
the
I
same...
think you're practicing what I'm saying, because I agree with what you're saying. That's great. There's no disagreement there.
Yeah, but there's a very, very small bunch of people that have actually come here and had the entirety of their presentation of a globe Earth claim, in the case of Rumpus, already known to be a lie when being presented 3 years ago, and then their change of position in defiance of their original claim, presented as a lie in terms of refracting everything, when it's a complete bullshit claim that defies the globe Earth geometry required to make the claim. Well, you only get a couple of opportunities to lie through your back teeth to me, and at that point I just say, no, you're not worth my time. And that's Rumpus at this point. It's like, I will use your own words against you, because a few people are like, oh, you said you'd turn your back on them. Yeah, I'm not going to interact with Rumpus anymore. I've got no desire to do so. He's had his head chopped off. Do I want to chop it off 5 more times? No. But when somebody like Katz comes along in the future and starts making assertions about Earth and its sphericity, I'll be there with Rumpus's own words to point out where you're failing. For example, the critical observation height that Rumpus was keen to point out and Jem Panda will point out, I'll be using their words against you. Yeah? That's what I'll do. Doesn't mean I need him anymore. I've got everything I could ever require from him, including demonstrratable proof of his lies. That's what I've got.
Didn't you do that on yesterday's video? I think, what was it Rumpus describing Ranty Spectre as? The most embarrassing image on the internet?
Yeah,
with regard to evaluation of the...
Yeah, that's me juxtaposing the words of Rumpus when we make those claims. So he's talking about Anthony Riley. He's also talking about Ranty, which is why it's contextually so much easier, thank you Ranty and Katz, to juxtapose this. Because where they have been highly critical of the observation height, when they're doing their maths for a sphere and drawing a tangent point to their horizon they claim is Earth curve, then it was critical that we got the observation height. Well, I've just got plenty of quotes, thanks to JQ, who sent them me. Here you go. Here's him describing the straight lines that he's drawing, and how we must obey the globe Earth geometry with its straight lines when we make our presuppositions that prove our Earth curve edge horizon at the Isle of Man. Just like Ruhif claimed. They're all lying bastards. They've now got to lie about it. Right? Well, it doesn't change the fact that they've come here and made these assertions, and I can just layer them over the top of a claim that's currently being made by cats. I've been pointing out for a month how useful it is to now juxtapose the claim from Katz & Co. in terms of their assertions that require Earth curve mathematics and assumptions with their lack of geometric horizon. Now, in the process of making that claim, everything they're claiming can be criticised with the very words the ballers used against us 3 years ago. The only difference is there's no defence of Earth curve anymore. You haven't got a tangent. It was already game over 18 months ago when we told you the black swan destroyed your geometry. Well, now you're making assertions again that require Earth curve maths, aren't you? That drop? What, the non-existent drop that doesn't represent itself in Google Earth? That drop that doesn't exist and isn't measured? Oh, what? You extract it from the Earth curve maths and its geometric horizon and our value assumption? How useful it is for us to now criticise your observation with its lack of actual demonstrable observation position or height with your own words from your own side. How that must sting, especially for the liars whose words I'm using, like Gempanda and Ruhif and Rumpus. They'll tell you all about how it's all refracted until I cut out them saying you need a straight line and how we must obey the geometry they're going to assume. With the R value we debunked with the R. Black Swan. Remember that? 18 months ago you hand-waved it? Oh, how these things come back to roost.
Nathan, I put that video earlier into the war room with 2 timestamps there for you. You might want to review the clips before you went with them. Just there's a people talking in over, but I got the 2 parts that were just mainly me speaking and Ruhif.
Got those timestamps lined up if you wanted them. But...
yeah. I've got 2:26:26 and 2:33:23. That's what I've got. But you can't play audio, so do you want me to bring it up?
Oh, are we not? Can we not? Cool. Yeah.
Which one's which? Do you know, Brian?
Well, see, it starts at 2:26:26, and I ask a question. And
devastation is the oil rig.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of other stuff goes on in between. Actually, Ruhif and Eli have something, and then I come back in with the second question because there was too much going on. Everyone was talking, so I couldn't get in with the second question straight after the first one.
Can you restate the Black Swan argument, please?
QE's argument.
The Black Swan argument, yes, formulated by
QE's formula. On a globe, the distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer height in feet. The horizon is photos much further than that, therefore globe is not like Earth is not a globe. Close enough?
Yes, okay.
That's
exactly right. So you do wonder.
I owe you $100, Ruhif.
Thanks. And what's the next?
So no geometric horizon then.
What?
No geometric horizon then.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I've explained multiple times, the geometric horizon is irrelevant. The only horizon that we see is the apparent horizon.
So let's do it again. Ruhif, you are a liar. Irrelevant. You drew a tangent to it in the Isle of Man and claimed it was Earth curve. So now it's irrelevant? No, it just invalidates every claim you made, you smug little bastard.
that was great to hear. It's irrelevant.
Earth curve is irrelevant?
He must have been hanging out with that too much.
Ruhif.
Yeah, that's right, Ruhif. Every claim you ever made here was irrelevant because you never had the tangent you drew. You smug, cancerous, lying bastard.
Whoopsie.
Listen to the next one, Nathan.
Next one at 2:33:23.
2:33:20, something like that. 2023. So.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
No
I will draw.
So no geometry.
What do you mean no geometry? Why is that no
geometry? You can't say the tangents to refraction. You can't do geometry on refraction.
No, sorry, Nathan. Just go back maybe about 10.
No, you can't. You're doing geometry with a fantasy.
Yeah, but it's going into a through a less dense area.
Yeah, and it will still bend towards the more dense. Just do it, like, seriously do the diagram of Snell's law.
Well, I rest my case.
He's not
I'm
understanding
satisfied.
it. Ruhef is not getting it.
I will draw it. I've got to go on
I have
mute.
the
I will
next
draw it for you
question.
later.
I'm satisfied with that soundbite. Thank you very much.
I have the next question.
Message you.
You know Al-Biruni. Did he send the tangent to a refracted horizon?
Snell's law. Okay.
You know Al-Biruni. Did he send the tangent to a refracted horizon?
It would have been, yeah. Anyway, I got to go, guys.
No geometry,
I will
then.
draw.
So no
What do you
geometry.
mean no geometry? Why is that?
Sorry, again, would have been a refracted tangent? An oxymoron, Ruhif, you complete liar? No, Al-Biruni drew a tangent, which, if you look it up, even though we are all aware that you like to change the definitions of words, is actually straight. That's what would have been required for him to do that particular mathematical derivation of a physical tangent point horizon. The same horizon you personally drew a tangent to, Ruhif. You lying, cancerous bastard.
Geometric horizons are relevant.
Well, his claims that he made back at the Isle of Man are definitely irrelevant. They're completely invalidated by that statement, Ruhif. You voided every claim you made and are now having to lie about its relevance. Well, if it's irrelevant, why did you use it at the Isle of Man? Oh, yeah, you refracted everything, and so did Al-Biruni. You lying bastard. How's that taste, Ruhif? Me, the flat earther, with demonstrable, provable evidence that you are a liar? Enjoy the aftertaste, Ruhif. Who's next? Gem Panda. About those heights, Gem. Remember how upset you got? Yeah, Google, definitely not acceptable. It's not your model, right? Yeah, we know why. It's all flat. Yeah, elevation profiles for thousands of miles demonstrate Earth as flat, measurably. According to Google, and that's what they're selling to the professionals who build on it. It's flat, no drop, no 8 inches per mile squared. So yeah, we know that the Google Earth that you were using to get the heights for the Blackpool Swan is definitely not going to be acceptable by Gem Panda standards. You got very upset about it, didn't you, Gem? You two drew a tangent, didn't you, Gem? Maybe it's time for you to now disclaim about that refracted horizon in the Black Swan. Or maybe it's that the height changed and that makes it irrelevant, right, Gem, you Dumbo? I want your head next.
Nathan, if they use a refracted horizon to establish the R value, wouldn't that change with the weather?
There's no such thing as a refracted horizon. You can't derive a tangent from a non-physical location if you're claiming to measure the edge of a sphere to give you the radius.
Right, but their point is they had a geometric horizon, and that's how they got the R value, but then they said they never could see the geometric horizon, so they're left with a refracted horizon. So how can they get an R value?
Ruhif just said it's irrelevant. Ruhif just said it's irrelevant. Apparently, we don't need that. And Rumpus said it's irrelevant. Right, lying to a tangent? That's irrelevant.
So if Al-Biruni came 2 hours later, we'd have a different size Earth? Is that what they're saying?
No, they're saying it's irrelevant because they formally had to lie about it being Earth curve, and we've debunked it with the Black Swan. Subsequently, their claims, which are now invalid, are, quote, irrelevant. No, they are relevant as they demonstrate you all as liars. So we will be pointing out just how relevant they are from here on forward. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!